The smell of $200 a pound beef fat rendering in a cast iron skillet is distinct. It is a heavy, buttery scent that seeps through floorboards, travels through ventilation ducts, and hangs in the air like a taunt. I sat in the dark, perched on a metal folding chair that chilled my backside through my thin cotton pants, and inhaled the aroma of the Christmas dinner I wasn't allowed to eat. Upstairs, in the house I had paid the down payment for, my son Travis and his wife Stacy were searing A5 Wagyu ribeyes. I knew it was Wagyu because I had heard Stacy screaming about the marbling score on the phone to the butcher yesterday. She wanted everything perfect for tonight. She wanted to impress her parents, the Millers, who owned a chain of car dealerships in Boulder, and the real estate investor they were trying to court for Travis's failing brokerage firm. I pulled the scratchy wool blanket tighter around my shoulders. It was 30 degrees outside in Denver tonight. A white Christmas that looked beautiful on postcards but felt like a death sentence in an unfinished basement with no insulation. The furnace was down here with me, a roaring metal beast in the corner, but the ductwork carried all the warmth straight up to the main floor. Down here, the air was stagnant and biting. My name is Lorraine Baker. I am 72 years old. I spent 40 years standing on a concrete line at a canning factory, packing peaches and green beans until my fingers were permanently swollen and my back was shaped like a question mark. I did it for Travis. I did it so he wouldn't have to. I wanted him to have soft hands. I wanted him to sit at a desk, and he did. He had soft hands. Hands that were currently seasoning a steak worth more than my monthly Social Security check, while his mother sat in the dark next to a stack of plastic totes filled with Halloween decorations. I looked around my room. It wasn't really a room. It was a corner of the basement they had curtained off with a hung bed sheet. Behind the sheet was my twin mattress on a metal frame, a plastic drawer set for my clothes, and the folding chair I was currently sitting on. I used to have a recliner. It was a lazy boy dusty rose, the one my husband Hank had bought me for my retirement. It was the only comfortable thing I owned. 2 weeks ago, I had come home from the library, my only escape, to find the recliner gone. We needed the space. "Mom," Travis had said, not looking up from the television, and honestly, it smelled like old people. Besides, I got a great deal on it on Facebook Marketplace. I needed the cash for the PS5. You can use the folding chair. It's better for your posture anyway. Better for my posture. I shifted on the cold metal, my spine aching. It hadn't always been like this. 10 years ago, when Hank died and the life insurance check cleared, I gave it all to Travis, $80,000. Buy a house, I told him. Start your life. I moved in with them into the guest room on the second floor. It was sunny. I had a window that looked out over the Rockies. I cooked dinner every night. I did the laundry. I was part of the family. Then came the slow erosion. It started with Stacy. "Lorraine, honey," she had said 3 years in. "We're thinking of turning the guest room into a nursery. You know, we're trying for a baby. Would you mind moving into the study on the main floor?" I moved. I wanted a grandchild more than anything, but the baby never came. The nursery became Stacy's content creation room for her fashion blog. 2 years later, it was the study. "Mom," Travis said, "I need a home office. My clients need privacy. And you snore. It echoes through the hallway. The basement is huge. It's practically a studio apartment. We'll finish it for you next summer." Next summer never came. The drywall never went up. The carpet was never laid. I was just moved down, step by step, like an unwanted piece of furniture that they couldn't quite bring themselves to throw away, so they just shoved it deeper into storage. I looked at the small bedside table next to my mattress. It was a cardboard box turned upside down. On it sat a lamp I had salvaged from the trash and a single-framed photograph. It was of Hank, standing next to his pride and joy, a 1967 Shelby GT500. Hank had bought that car as a rusted shell in 1980. He spent 20 years restoring it. Every Sunday he was in the garage, grease on his face, singing along to the radio. It was his masterpiece. When he died, he made me promise never to sell it unless I absolutely had to. "That's your safety net, Rainey," he had whispered in the hospice bed. "That car is freedom. Don't let Travis get his hands on it. He doesn't understand horsepower, he only understands price tags." Hank was right. Travis hated the car. He called it the heap. He resented that I paid $200 a month to keep it in a climate-controlled storage unit across town. "Sell it for scrap, Mom," he would yell when money was tight. "It's just sitting there rotting. We could use that money for a vacation. Stacy needs a break." I never told him what it was really worth. I never told him that I had the appraisal done 5 years ago. I kept it secret, my one act of rebellion. But rebellion doesn't pay the mortgage. And lately, the arguments upstairs weren't just about vacations. They were about foreclosure. I heard them screaming at night. Stacy's credit cards were maxed out. Travis hadn't closed a house in 6 months. They were drowning in debt to fund a lifestyle they couldn't afford, desperate to look rich, while the foundation crumbled. That morning, Christmas Eve, I had woken up with a heaviness in my chest. I knew tonight was make or break for them. This dinner party was their Hail Mary pass to secure an investment from the real estate mogul. If they couldn't impress him, they would lose the house. And if they lost the house, where would I go? I had made a decision. A mother's decision. Stupid, perhaps, but driven by that primal need to save the child, even when the child is biting the hand that feeds him. I reached into the pocket of my faded floral apron and pulled out the white envelope. My hands trembled, not from the cold, but from the weight of what was inside. I closed my eyes and let my mind drift back to 6 hours ago. The morning air had been crisp and sharp, the sky a brilliant, blinding blue over the snow-capped mountains. I had told Travis I was going to the pharmacy to pick up my blood pressure medication. He didn't even look up from his phone. "Don't take too long," he grunted. "Stacy needs you to peel the potatoes when you get back." I took the bus to the storage facility on the edge of town. It was a high-end place, secure, filled with boats and RVs owned by people who had retirement accounts and winter homes. Mr. Rossi was waiting for me by the gate. I had met Matteo Rossi at a car show 3 years ago, one of the few times I had taken the Shelby out just to run the engine. He was a gentleman of the old school, Italian leather shoes, a cashmere coat, and eyes that crinkled when he smiled. He was a collector. He knew cars, and he had been trying to buy the Shelby ever since. "Mrs. Baker," he said, stepping out of his black town car. He didn't look at my worn coat or my snow boots. He took my hand and bowed slightly over it. "Merry Christmas. I was surprised to get your call." "Hello, Mr. Rossi," I said. My voice felt small in the open air. "Thank you for coming on such short notice." "For this car? I would have come on Christmas morning." He smiled gently. "Are you sure, Lorraine? I know what this machine means to you." "I'm sure," I said. But I wasn't. My heart was breaking. I punched in the code, Hank's birthday, and the heavy metal door rolled up with a rattle that echoed in the cold morning. There she was, midnight blue with white racing stripes, chrome that gleamed even in the dim light. She looked fast, just sitting there. She looked like Hank. I walked over and ran my hand along the fender. The metal was cold, smooth as glass. I remembered sitting in the passenger seat while Hank revved the engine, the vibration rattling my teeth, both of us laughing like teenagers. I remembered driving Travis to his prom in this car, how proud he looked before he grew up and decided old things were embarrassing. "She's pristine," Mr. Rossi said softly, standing a respectful distance away. He didn't rush me. I brought the mechanic, just to verify the VIN and the engine block as we discussed. It will only take a moment. "Go ahead," I said, stepping back. I watched as they checked the car. It felt like watching a doctor examine a loved one before surgery. I turned away, looking out at the snowy lot. I was doing this for Travis. I was doing this so he wouldn't lose the house. I was doing this so that maybe if I handed him the check tonight, he would look at me with respect again. Maybe he would hug me. Maybe he would say, "Mom, you saved us. Come upstairs. Sit at the table. We love you." It was a fantasy, I knew. But when you are living in a basement, fantasies are the only thing that keep you warm. "Everything is perfect," Mr. Rossi said, walking back to me. He reached into his coat pocket. "I have the cashier's check prepared, as you asked." He handed me the envelope. I opened it. $350,000. It was enough to pay off the mortgage on the house. It was enough to clear Stacy's credit cards. It was enough to start over. "And the other check?" I asked. "Right here," Mr. Rossi said, handing me a second envelope. "For the donation. I made it out exactly as you instructed. Are you certain about the payee?" I hesitated. This was my insurance policy, my backup plan. "Yes," I said, "just in case." "Very well," Mr. Rossi said. "My driver will take the car. Lorraine, if you change your mind, you have my number. But I promise you, I will treat her like a queen. She will be in a climate-controlled showroom in Milan by next week." "Take care of her," I whispered. I watched them load Hank's soul onto a flatbed trailer. I watched it drive away until the blue stripes disappeared around the corner. I stood there in the snow, clutching the check that represented 40 years of my husband's passion, feeling lighter and heavier all at once. I took the bus back. I peeled the potatoes. I scrubbed the toilets. I listened to Stacy scream at Travis about the flower arrangements, and I kept the secret burning in my pocket. Now, back in the basement, the memory faded, replaced by the sound of heavy footsteps on the stairs above. My stomach growled. I hadn't eaten since breakfast, a piece of dry toast. I wasn't allowed in the kitchen while Stacy was prepping. "You'll get in the way, Lorraine," she had snapped. "Just stay downstairs." The basement door at the top of the stairs creaked open. A wedge of golden light sliced through the darkness, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the cold air. I squinted. "Mom?" It was Travis. He was backlit, a silhouette in a tailored suit. He looked handsome, I had to admit. He had Hank's broad shoulders, but he carried himself with a slump, the weight of his own pretensions dragging him down. "I'm here, Travis," I said. He walked down the wooden steps. They groaned under his weight. He didn't come all the way down. He stopped on the third step from the bottom, hovering there like he was afraid the basement floor might contaminate his Italian leather shoes. "The guests are here," he said. His voice was tight, stressed. "The Millers and Mr. Henderson. We're serving appetizers." "That's nice," I said. "Do you need help?" "No," he said quickly. "No, that's actually... Look, Mom, we need you to stay down here tonight." I felt a coldness spread through my chest that had nothing to do with the temperature. "Stay down here? But it's Christmas Eve, Travis." "I know," he said, running a hand through his gelled hair. "But this dinner is crucial. Mr. Henderson is very particular. He's old money. And Stacy thinks, well, we think it would be better if there were no distractions." "Distractions," I repeated. "I'm your mother." "You know what I mean," he snapped, his patience fraying. "You don't have anything nice to wear. You smell like mothballs and old soup, Mom. It lingers. Stacy says it makes her nauseous." He sniffed the air theatrically. "God, it's freezing down here. Why don't you turn on a heater?" "You took the heater," I reminded him. "You said it was running up the electric bill." He waved his hand dismissively. "Whatever. Look, just stay quiet. Don't turn on the TV. The sound travels through the vents. And definitely don't come up to use the bathroom while we're eating. Just wait until we move to the living room for brandy." He turned to go back up. "Travis," I said. My hand tightened on the envelope in my apron pocket. "I have something for you. A Christmas present." He stopped and looked back over his shoulder. He laughed, a short, harsh sound. "A present? What is it, Mom? A knitted scarf? Another $5 gift card to Denny's? Save it. We don't need junk cluttering up the house." "It's not junk," I whispered. It could help." "The only thing that could help right now is 50 grand, he muttered. "Unless you have a winning lottery ticket in that apron, just stay put. I'll bring you down a plate later. Maybe, if there are leftovers." He bounded up the stairs and slammed the door. The lock clicked. I sat in the silence, the darkness rushing back in. He locked it. He locked his mother in the basement on Christmas Eve. I pulled the envelope out and looked at it in the dim light of my bedside lamp. $350,000. I could save him. I could walk up those stairs, knock on the door, hand him the check, and watch his face transform. I could buy my way back into his heart. I could buy my seat at the table. But did I want to sit at a table where I had to pay for the chair? My stomach cramped with hunger. Upstairs, I heard the muffled sounds of laughter. High, tinkling laughter from Stacy, booming, confident laughter from the men. They were drinking champagne. They were eating shrimp cocktail. I was sitting on a metal chair, smelling the ghosts of my own life. I looked at the photo of Hank. "Don't let him get his hands on it," he had said. "He doesn't understand." Hank knew. He always knew. I had been blind for 32 years, making excuses for a boy who had grown into a monster. But monsters aren't born. They are made. And I had helped make him. I had cushioned every fall. I had given him everything until I had nothing left to give but my dignity. And tonight, it seemed, he wanted that too. I waited. 1 hour, 2 hours. The smell of the beef grew stronger, richer. My mouth watered involuntarily. I imagined the taste of the steak, salty and charred. Then the door opened again. This time, the footsteps were heavier, stumbling slightly. Travis was drunk. He came down the stairs. The light from the kitchen spilled down with him, revealing his face. He was flushed, his tie loosened. He was grinning, but it wasn't a nice grin. It was the grin of a man who feels small and needs to kick something to feel big. He wasn't holding a plate of food. He wasn't holding a slice of ham or a scoop of potatoes. He was holding a can, a small silver can with a peel-off lid, and a spoon. "Mom," he slurred slightly, swaying on the bottom step. "Dinner time." I stood up, my joints popping. "Travis? Did you bring me something?" "I sure did," he said, stepping into my little curtained area. He towered over me. "We're eating the Wagyu. It's incredible, Mom. Melts in your mouth. But Stacy and I were talking, and we realized something." He held up the can. It was wet dog food. Premium brand. Rabbit and venison stew. "We realized that Wagyu is wasted on you," he said, his eyes glittering with a cruel amusement. "Your teeth. They're old. You can't chew properly. And your palate? You spent 40 years eating canned beans. You wouldn't appreciate a $200 steak." He peeled the lid back. The smell of processed meat and gelatin hit me. It smelled distinct. It smelled like humiliation. "This," he said, gesturing with the spoon, "is high protein. It's rabbit. It's basically a luxury meal. Stacy said the vet recommends it for older creatures with sensitive stomachs." He scooped a spoonful of the brown, gelatinous sludge. He held it out to me. "Go on," he urged, looking at me with a challenge in his eyes. "Eat it. It's good for you. Old people don't need steak, Mom. They need soft food." I looked at the spoon. I looked at the can. I looked at my son. In that moment, the world seemed to stop spinning. The cold basement faded away. The hunger faded away. All that was left was a crystal-clear realization, sharp as a diamond. He wasn't just mean. He wasn't just stressed. He despised me. He despised my weakness. He despised that I had given him everything because it reminded him that he had earned nothing. He wanted me to be a dog. He wanted me to be an animal that lived in his basement and ate his scraps so he could feel like a master. My hand brushed the envelope in my pocket. The paper felt hot against my skin. "Eat it," he hissed, the smile dropping from his face. "Don't be ungrateful. We put a roof over your head." I looked at the spoon. If I refused, he would storm upstairs. He would lock the door. I would starve tonight. If I ate it, I would cross a line from which there was no return. I reached out. My hand was steady. I took the spoon from him. "You think this is what I deserve?" I asked softly. "It's food," he shrugged. Take it or leave it. I lifted the spoon. The smell was overpowering. I didn't eat it to satisfy him. I ate it to satisfy myself, to taste the absolute bottom, to swallow the last jagged shard of hope I had for my son so that I could vomit it out and be done with him forever. I put the spoon in my mouth. I swallowed the cold, salty, metallic mush. Travis laughed. See? Not so bad. Good girl. He turned to leave. Wait, I said. My voice was different. It wasn't the voice of the mother who peeled potatoes. It was the voice of the woman who had stood on a factory line for 40 years and survived. I have something for you, I said. I wiped my mouth with the back of my hand. I reached into my apron. I pulled out the envelope. Travis stopped. He saw the official bank logo on the corner of the envelope. He saw the thickness of the check. His eyes widened. The cruelty vanished, replaced instantly by the desperate, pathetic greed of a broke man. "What is that?" he asked, stepping closer. Is that your pension?" "Open it," I said. He grabbed it from my hand. He tore it open. He pulled out the check. $350,000, he breathed. He looked up at me, his face glowing with shock and joy. "Mom, oh my God, Mom, you sold the car? The Heap?" "I sold the Shelby," I said. "This covers everything," he stammered, his hands shaking. "The mortgage, the cards, were saved. Mom, I was just joking about the food. You know that, right? I was going to bring you steak. Come upstairs. Come have a drink." He looked down at the check again, ready to run upstairs and show Stacy. Then he frowned. He squinted at the pay to the order of line. "Wait," he said. "The Denver Dumb Friends League? Who is that?" I stood up. I walked past him. I walked to the bottom of the stairs. "It's the animal shelter," I said, turning back to look at him one last time. "What?" he screamed. "Why? This is a mistake. You can change it." "No," I said. "Since you think I should eat like a dog, Travis, I decided to help the only creatures in this city who treat me with loyalty. They don't lock their mothers in basements, and they don't feed them trash." "You can't do this," he yelled, panic rising in his voice as the reality set in. "That's my money. That was Dad's car." "It was my car," I said, "and it's my money, and now it's theirs." I started walking up the stairs. "Where are you going?" he shrieked, scrambling after me. "You can't go up there. You look like a bum." I didn't stop. I opened the basement door. The warmth of the house hit me. The smell of steak hit me. I walked into the kitchen. Stacy was there, pouring wine. She froze when she saw me. I didn't look at her. I walked straight through the dining room. The guests stopped talking. The Millers stared. Mr. Henderson stared. They saw an old woman in a dirty apron, smelling of dog food, walking with her head held high. I walked to the front door. I opened it. The cold air rushed in, but for the first time in years, I didn't feel cold. I felt free. The snow was falling harder now, big wet flakes that stuck to my eyelashes and melted against the heat of my rage. I stepped onto the front porch, the heavy oak door clicking shut behind me, sealing away the warmth, the smell of searing beef, and the son who had just fed me dog food. The cold hit me instantly, biting through my thin sweater, but I didn't shiver. My blood was running too hot. I walked down the driveway, my snow boots crunching loudly on the ice. I didn't look back. I didn't check to see if anyone was watching. I just walked toward the streetlights, toward the edge of the world I was leaving behind. But the world wasn't quite done with me yet. The front door flew open. "Mom, wait, stop!" It was Travis. He ran out onto the porch in his socks, slipping on the icy concrete. He was still clutching the envelope in one hand and the check in the other, flapping them around like a bird with a broken wing. He didn't have a coat. The snow instantly soaked his expensive suit jacket, but he didn't seem to notice. Panic does a good job of keeping you warm. "You can't leave," he screamed, scrambling down the steps. "You can't do this. This is $350,000. I stopped at the end of the driveway. A black Lincoln Town car was idling at the curb, its exhaust puffing white clouds into the night air. Mr. Rossi was a man of his word. He had told me his driver would wait until I was safe. I turned around slowly. Travis skidded to a halt 5 feet away from me. He looked manic. His hair was wild, his eyes wide and bloodshot from the wine and the shock. "It's not your money, Travis," I said, my voice steady over the wind. "Read the line again. It belongs to the dogs." "You can cancel it," he yelled, shaking the paper at me. "You can call the bank. Tell them it was a mistake. Tell them you were confused. We can fix this. Mom, please, they're going to foreclose next month. We need this." "We?" I asked. "There is no we, Travis. We died the moment you put that spoon in my mouth." "It was a joke," he sobbed, tears mixing with the melting snow on his face. "It was just a stupid joke. I was drunk. I'm sorry. I'll make you a steak. I'll make you a whole cow. Just come back inside and call the bank." The front door opened again. Stacy appeared. Wrapped in a cashmere shawl, holding a glass of wine. She looked annoyed, shivering in the doorway. "Travis," she called out, her voice shrill. "What are you doing? The Millers are asking where the appetizers are. Get back inside. You're embarrassing us." Travis spun around to face her. "Shut up, Stacy, shut up. She sold the car. She has a check for $350,000. Stacy froze. The wine glass tilted in her hand, sloshing red liquid onto the pristine snow. "What?" "She gave it to a dog shelter," Travis screamed, his voice cracking. "She gave our money to a damn dog shelter." Stacy dropped the glass. It shattered on the porch, a red stain spreading across the concrete like blood. She ran down the steps, ignoring her high heels, slipping and sliding until she reached Travis. She grabbed the check from his hand. She scanned it under the street lamp. "Oh my God," she whispered. "Oh my God, Lorraine, are you insane? This is fraud. You can't do this. This is our inheritance." "I'm not dead yet," I said, "so it's not your inheritance. It's my asset." And I disposed of it. "I'll sue you," Stacy shrieked, her face twisting into a mask of ugly, desperate greed. "I'll have you declared incompetent. I'll tell the judge you're senile. No sane person gives a fortune to a pound." "Go ahead," I said. "Mr. Rossi's lawyers drew up the paperwork. I signed the donation agreement this morning. I was of sound mind and body, and I have a witness." I pointed to the black car. The rear window rolled down. Mr. Rossi wasn't there, but his driver, a large man with a thick neck and a solemn face, nodded at me. "Mrs. Baker," the driver called out. "Are you ready?" "Yes," I said. I turned back to my son and his wife. They looked small, standing there in the snow, small and mean and terrified. "Mom," Travis whispered, grabbing my arm. "Please, I'm your son." I looked at his hand on my arm, the same hand that had held the spoon. "My son died a long time ago," I said. "I don't know who you are, but you look like a man who just ordered a very expensive dinner he can't pay for." I pulled my arm away. I walked to the car. The driver opened the door for me. I slid into the warm leather interior. It smelled of vanilla and leather, no dog food, no damp basement, no despair. As the door closed, I saw Travis fall to his knees in the snow, clutching the useless check to his chest. Stacy was screaming at him, hitting his shoulder, blaming him. The guests, the wealthy Millers and the investor, were watching from the living room window, their faces pressed against the glass like fish in an aquarium. They saw everything. The car pulled away. I didn't watch them fade in the rearview mirror. I looked forward. "Where to, Mrs. Baker?" the driver asked. "The Brown Palace Hotel," I said. "And please, stop at a drive-thru on the way. I need a hamburger, a real one." The Brown Palace is the oldest, most elegant hotel in Denver. It has an atrium with stained glass and tea service in the afternoons. I had never stayed there. Hank and I used to walk through the lobby at Christmas just to look at the decorations, but we never spent a dime. Tonight, I booked a suite. I paid with the other check. Mr. Rossi had been generous. The Shelby was worth a fortune, more than I had realized. The appraisal came in at $500,000. I had given $350,000 to the shelter. a number I picked because it was exactly the payoff amount of Travis's mortgage. I wanted him to know exactly what he had lost, but I had kept $150,000 for myself. It wasn't a fortune, but for a woman who lived on Social Security and canned beans, it was freedom. I checked into the room. It had a king-sized bed with white linens that smelled like lavender. It had a bathroom with a soaking tub and marble counters. It had a view of the city lights. I sat on the edge of the bed and ate my fast food burger. It was greasy and salty and the best thing I had ever tasted. It washed away the metallic linger of the rabbit stew. I took a shower. I scrubbed my skin until it was red, trying to wash off the feeling of the basement. I washed my hair 3 times to get the mothball smell out, even though I knew I didn't smell like mothballs. That was just another lie Travis told to make me feel small. I put on the plush hotel robe and sat by the window. My phone had been buzzing nonstop in my purse. I finally took it out. 42 missed calls from Travis. 16 missed calls from Stacy. Text from Travis. Mom, please pick up. Text from Travis. Stacy kicked me out of the bedroom. Text from Travis. The investor left. He said we were unstable. Text from Travis. Mom, I'm sorry. Text from Stacy. You selfish bitch. You ruined our lives. I read them all. I felt a phantom pain in my chest, the ghost of the mother I used to be, wanting to fix it, wanting to tell him it would be okay. But then I tasted the dog food again, the texture, the humiliation. I went to my settings. I blocked Travis. I blocked Stacy. Then I called the front desk. This is Mrs. Baker in room 412, I said. I'd like to extend my stay for a week, and could you send up a bottle of champagne, the expensive kind? I slept for 12 hours. The next morning, I went to the bank. I deposited my check. The teller looked at my worn coat, then at the check, then at me. Inheritance? She asked kindly. Divorce settlement, I said, winking. I divorced my family. I spent the next week building a life. I hired a real estate agent. I told her I wanted a small condo, something sturdy and quiet with no stairs. I found a place in a 55-plus community in Arvada. It was modest. 1 bedroom, a small balcony, a kitchen with yellow tiles. It cost $120,000. I paid cash. I had $30,000 left. I bought a new coat. I bought a comfortable recliner, a blue one this time. I bought a new TV, and I went to the shelter. The Denver Dumb Friends League is a massive facility. When I walked in, the receptionist stood up. Mrs. Baker, she asked. The Mrs. Baker? Just Lorraine, I said. The director came out. She was a woman in her 40s with kind eyes and dog hair on her blazer. She hugged me. She cried. Do you have any idea what this money does? She asked. We were going to have to cut our senior dog program. You just saved hundreds of lives. I like senior dogs, I said. They know the value of a warm bed. They gave me a tour. I saw the kennels. I saw the dogs jumping and barking, desperate for love. And then I saw him. He was in the back corner, an old golden retriever mix with a gray muzzle and cloudy eyes. He was lying on a thin blanket, his head on his paws. He didn't bark. He just watched me. That's Barnaby, the director said. He's 12. His owners surrendered him last week. They said they were moving and he didn't fit the new apartment. But honestly, I think they just wanted a puppy. I walked into the kennel. Barnaby lifted his head. He thumped his tail once. Thump. I sat down on the floor next to him. He crawled into my lap, resting his heavy head on my knee. He let out a long sigh. He smelled like dog, but to me, he smelled like loyalty. Old people don't need steak, I whispered to him, scratching behind his ears, but we need dignity. I adopted him on the spot. 6 months passed. My life fell into a rhythm I hadn't known was possible. I woke up when I wanted to. I drank coffee on my balcony while Barnaby slept in a patch of sun. I volunteered at the shelter 3 days a week, walking the old dogs, sitting with the scared ones, helping the staff organize the donations that poured in after the local news ran a small story about the anonymous angel who saved the senior program. I never gave my name to the press. I didn't want the attention. I just wanted the peace. I hadn't heard a word from Travis. The silence was heavy at first, a void where my son used to be, but eventually it filled up with new things. Friends from the condo complex, dinner parties where I was a guest, not a servant. Books I finally had time to read. I heard rumors, though. A neighbor from my old street ran into me at the grocery store. She told me the house was in foreclosure. She told me Stacy had left Travis and moved back to her parents' house in Boulder, filing for divorce and citing financial deception. She told me Travis was living in a studio apartment downtown, working double shifts at a car rental agency because his real estate license had been suspended due to some shady deal he tried to pull to cover his debts. I listened. I nodded. I felt a pang of sadness, but it was distant, like reading about a tragedy in a newspaper from another country. It was a Tuesday in July when the past finally caught up with me. I was at the shelter, walking Barnaby in the exercise yard. It was a hot day, the sun beating down on the dust. Barnaby was sniffing a dandelion, his tail wagging slowly. "Lorraine?" The voice was rough, cracked. I froze. I turned around. Standing on the other side of the chain-link fence was a man I barely recognized. Travis had lost 30 pounds. His suit was gone, replaced by wrinkled khakis and a polo shirt with a car rental logo on the chest. His hair, usually gelled and perfect, was thinning and gray at the temples. He looked old. He looked tired. "Travis," I said. I didn't walk toward the fence. I stayed where I was, holding Barnaby's leash. "I saw the news," he said. His voice was shaky. "About the donation. They showed a picture of the check with the name blurred out, but I recognized the handwriting. And then I saw you walking into the building." "What do you want, Travis?" I wanted to see you." He gripped the fence with his fingers. "Mom, I'm sorry." "I know," I said. "You've sent texts." "I mean it," he said. "Stacy left me. I lost the house. The bank took it last month. They sold all the furniture, even your recliner." "I have a new recliner," I said. "It's blue." He flinched. "I'm living in a dump, Mom. I'm eating ramen every night. I have nothing." "You have a job," I pointed out. "You have your health. That's more than I had when I was living in your basement." "I know," he wept. "I was a monster. I know that. I let her control me. I let her treat you like dirt because I was afraid of losing her. And I lost her anyway." He looked at Barnaby. Is that your dog?" "This is Barnaby," I said. "His family threw him away because he got old. Sounds familiar, doesn't it?" Travis looked down at his shoes. "Mom, is there any money left? Even a little? I have legal fees for the divorce. I'm drowning." I looked at him. I looked at the man who had handed me a spoon and told me to eat dog food. I looked for the anger, but it was gone. All that was left was pity. "There is no money for you, Travis," I said. "The donation is gone. The rest is in my condo." "You bought a condo?" he asked, hope flickering in his eyes. "Where? Can I come see it? Maybe I could stay for a few days, just until I get back on my feet? I promise I'll help. I'll clean." I almost laughed. The audacity was breathtaking. He wanted to move back in. He wanted to restart the cycle. He wanted to find a new host to attach himself to. I looked at Barnaby. He looked up at me with his cloudy, trusting eyes. He leaned against my leg. He didn't want my money. He didn't want my house. He just wanted me. "No," I said. Travis looked shocked. "What?" "But I'm your son." "And I am your mother," I said, "which is why I have to say no. If I help you now, you will never learn. You will never be a man." "I have nowhere to go," he whispered. "You're young," I said. "You're smart. You'll figure it out, or you won't. But you won't do it in my house." I reached into my pocket. I pulled out a $20 bill. I walked to the fence and pushed it through the links. "Here," I said. Travis took it, looking confused. "What is this?" "Buy yourself a steak," I said. "Or buy dog food. It's high protein. It's basically the same thing." Travis stared at the bill. His face turned red. He crumpled it in his fist. "I hate you," he hissed. "No, you don't," I said calmly. "You hate that you can't use me anymore." I turned my back on him. "Come on, Barnaby," I said. "Let's go home." We walked away across the gravel yard. I heard Travis shouting something behind me, but the wind carried it away. I didn't look back. I walked through the shelter doors into the cool air conditioning. The receptionist waved at me. The dogs barked their greetings. I walked out the front door to my car. I lifted Barnaby into the back seat. I had bought a special ramp so he didn't have to jump. I got into the driver's seat of my used Subaru. I drove home. I drove to my condo with the yellow tiles. I made myself a cup of tea. I sat in my blue recliner. Barnaby curled up at my feet. The house was quiet. It was peaceful. I took a sip of tea. It tasted like victory. "Old people don't need steak," Travis had said. And he was right. We don't need steak. We don't need mansions. We don't need false promises. We need peace. And for the first time in 40 years, I had it. I closed my eyes and listened to the sound of my dog breathing. It was the best sound in the world.